Happy Monday. I feel like I'm walking into, great morning coffee conversations every day. So it's, I would say first and foremost, it's a testament to all of you and the community that you guys have built together. And so before we start pivoting into a new direction, which I know many of you are excited about, the morning group is really excited. I just want to say thank you for, all of the people that reached out. We had an article that we were in The Real Deal. And I would say our success really is your success. So anything great that happens really is a byproduct of all of you. And all of you have taken the time and, really given us the opportunity to be part of your business, but more importantly, part of your life. Time is your most valuable resource and you choose to spend it with us on an ongoing basis. And to me, that means the world. You guys are the action takers. You guys are the people who invest time, money, and resources into bettering the lives and services of other people. And those are the special people. So as we get into this next segment, this is probably one of my favorite things to coach about. And I don't like calling it sales because there's such a negative connotation. It's about having effective conversations. That's what we call it here at CSC. And the reality is this world is filled with just shiny pennies. And as one of my business coaches say, seductive distractions. We live in a world that is 100% focused on lead generation. Where's the next lead? Where's the next lead? Where's the next lead? But the part that nobody tells you is if you don't know how to talk to people, you're not going to make money, right? So think about this logically. How much money have we all missed out in our lives by not being able to communicate clearly, by not being able to answer those simple, what we call objections, but really are questions, right? Do you know where an objection comes from? Lack of clarity. So if you think about the 3 C's, right? If somebody's confused by what you're saying, it becomes almost chaotic for them. They go back to certainty. That goes back to what you know. So in any kind of pitch that involves sales and influence, certainty is the last thing that you want, right? And if you start thinking about it, in essence, selling your home sucks. Like no one wants to really move, right? They want to get to the destination, but the process isn't fun. So what happens? We go in there focused on what? How we're going to sell them, right? Why they should choose us. But the problem is all the information is about us and none of it's about them, right? And then in the end, you're there for 60, 90 minutes. How much information have you shared? How much have they really shared? How much of the context of what you share is really what they want to hear? Are you guys having the conversations that you want to have? Are you having the conversations that they want to have? So as we get into sharing your unique value proposition, we're going to do sellers today. We're going to do buyers. What our goal is, and really the way that we built all this is building one system for you, kind of like an iOS. So it's a framework. It's a process that you can take to all areas of your business. So over the coming weeks, we're going to take a really deep dive into sales or effective conversations. So these are all the little shifts that you could do every day to make money. And look, those first however many weeks that we've been doing this, about the dashboards, about where your business is coming from. I'm sure if another person says time blocking, it's never going to end. If you don't know how to time block, you don't know how to be productive, which means you're not going to get anything done, right? And in essence, I'll share a story with you that really inspired this frame of thinking for me. It's a Kobe Bryant story. They interviewed him and they said, Kobe, why do you wake up at 4 a.m.? Why? And he's like, when I got in the league, like I wasn't like everybody else. He wasn't even a fully grown adult, or he's 18 years old. He's like, so I knew I had to figure out a way to get ahead. And he's like, if I wake up at 4, I could get 1 to 2 extra practices a day. And he's like, for the first year, it really wasn't much. I already knew that. By the second year, it might not be anything. But he's like, I knew by year 3, 4, 5, by the time I put in all that additional work, there's no way anyone would be able to catch me, even if they tried. Well, during the pandemic, when we started, it was April 2020, started off in the tri-state. And I had a bunch of clients from New York City and everyone's looking at me like Notre Dame. It's like, what do we do? And I remember coining that phrase, the communication economy. And we sat there and we practiced talking to people. I'm talking about 60-second time, building rapport, asking the right questions, pre-qualifying, sharing your value proposition. And at the end of those several months, the agents that did this and really like put themselves into it, they convert at a 90% plus rate for their pitches. 90. Means like they never lose regardless of their track record, right? Like Justin Martinez, I believe he was my first client. There's a debate, ongoing debate for people about that. But Justin is somebody who's done this and still practices every single day, almost 3 years later. Right. So there's such a high value in this. Now, let's talk about how we have time benefit us. How many agents do you think have practiced talking to people 20 or more hours in their career? Not many, right? So, they always say consistency breeds confidence. So here's a fun game that I would challenge all of you to do. And I'm saying this, like, if I was sitting in your shoes, if you ever wondered if Chirag was an agent again, what would he do? This would be one of the number one things I did as soon as I figured out my business, my numbers, and how to be strategic with my outreach and spend. I would say it's 2 months into the year. There's 60 days that are gone approximately, right? Now, that means there's another 305 days. I would commit 200 days to practicing 30 minutes a day, where I knew at the end of the year, I'd have 100 hours in practicing talking to people. 100. Do you know what that'll do for your business? And I would commit to that 100 every single year for the rest of my life. Because let me tell you what, share in the, can we open up the chat right now? Chat is open. Share with me in the chat right now what you feel your unique value proposition to a seller is. Marketing degree, experience, strategy, good experience, integrity, experience, helping them with the transaction. You're in front of them, empathy, networking, connection, care, sunny, easy to talk to, good looks. I love that one. Communication skills, hard work, interpersonal skills, making them feel comfortable, market knowledge, the X factor, confidence, experience, business acumen. Acting background, I care, commitment, transparency. My coach, I love that. I actually care about them. Service. So here's the reality. I went to a triple play convention, which is like a big NAR convention in the East Coast. And I remember at the end of it, hearing this woman, Lee Brown, talk about, why people hate real estate agents, a woman from down south. Everyone raised their hands, like 6, 7 people she called on. I'm like, this is interesting. Because we just go into people's houses and we just lie. The 3 golden lies people tell people? I'm going to sell your house in the fastest amount of time with the least amount of hassle for the most amount of money. She goes, can you control how fast the house sells? No. Can you control how much money somebody will pay? No. My favorite one. Have you ever met a real estate transaction without hassles? No. And this is what we set ourselves up for, right? So if you practice, you can effectively communicate what you do. Think about it. We're commoditized. So if I'm buying this bottle of water, it's 16.9 ounces of Poland Spring water. It's very clear what I'm getting. So if you look at coping skills, positivity, local expertise, your network, adjusting to their needs, service, care, active listener, transparency, education, emotional support, I care, commitment, focus, development background, investor experience, marketing, negotiation. Are any of those things quantifiable, or does that sound like more of what everybody else says? Commoditized. So what is your unique value proposition? Essentially, in the simplest form, your unique value proposition as an agent is the experience you create for a person when working with you. And these experiences, and every time you sell the house, are built with unique moments and different touch points throughout the process. The goal of this is to figure out really what the most important parts are and how to effectively communicate them. So think about it like this. There's all of this stuff you do, right? That essentially becomes your toolbox. When you understand what's important to a person, you know which tools to use to build the plan. Pretty simple, right? So now let's break this down into the 3 parts of the transaction. There's before, during, and after. Before is everything that you do From the time they pick up the phone or the initial email to the time that the house goes on the market. Pre-marketing, photos, video, all of that stuff. Your pitch, your written marketing plan, and everything else, right? The second part is during. This is while the home is on the market. Market updates, agent feedback, results of your marketing. All these things are during. And then what do you do after, right? Like, do you have a plan after or anything else like that? Those are the three parts of a transaction. Pretty simple, right? And I want you to start thinking about this, right? Because based on what people tell you, you will know which tool to use. Now, here's the thing. Think about this. There's two types of value. There's perceived value and there's actualized value. Perceived value is all of these things that you think you offer people. So Michelle in San Diego says a holistic approach of taking care of their needs before, during, and after the transaction. So she knows that her value is all of the things she does in that. Actualized value is the value that you as a customer understand that you're getting from somebody in the experience you have. I'll give you an example. We're all here at Compass. Compass has a high perceived value of their technology and what it can do for an agent's business. If you don't use the technology, you don't understand the technology, there's no value you place on, right? People that use the technology have incredible results and thus place a high value on. It's the same thing with your clients. They don't even understand what they're getting from you, essentially. You ever go on a pitch and you're like, wow, this is great. Everything went well. They're so happy. And then they either ghost you or they work with somebody else. Who's had that happen? Right? You want to know why that happens? Because you gave them so much information that they just wanted you out of your house, and most people aren't combative. Just wanted you to leave. Yeah, no problem. Oh, of course, right? You ever meet people that smile, listen, and you're like, oh man, they're in alignment. They never, ever take action on anything you talk about because they don't like confrontation. Does this make sense to everybody? So the goal is to turn your perceived value into actualized value through the way you communicate and clarity. Clarity is your best friend here. So what do sellers care about? There are three things that sellers care about. Only three: price, marketing, and communication. Go ahead. Anyone write in the chat something a seller could say is important to them. I'll tie it right back on the spot to those three things. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is. It all comes back to those three things. So if someone has something they want, an example they want to give, I'm happy to address it. If not, I'm going to keep going. Do I have to move out? Mating for the market is managed, personal showings, privacy, convenience, right? So if you look at this, where am I going, right? That's a communication thing. If you look at showings, when will my house be sold? So you want to know the exact marketing plan I'm going to use to get your home sold, right? Mine is better than the one that's sold next door. That's more of a general pricing conversation. So great. You want to know the exact marketing plan I'm going to use to maximize the equity of your home. Do you see this? It's called a level shift, right? Where am I going? Great. So you want to know the exact marketing plan that we're going to use to get your home sold and the time frame and strategy we're going to use to find you the next home. It all goes back to those three things, right? So when presenting to people, it's like, how will you maximize their equity? What is the marketing strategy you have for the home to maximize their equity? And how will you create a predictable communication throughout the process? So all of those things come back there. And by the way, you see all of these things that you're writing in the chat, like what's your experience? Mine's better than the one that sold. Get in the habit of cataloging all these and starting to come up with your answers in advance and then practice them. And then keep track of the ones that you get the most, because those are the ones you need to practice the most. Remember, a 5-minute task done 300 times a year is 25 hours. There's such a value in owning time. Is this pretty simple for everybody? Just write simple or complicated in the chat. I'm interested to see where everybody is today. Look, guys, the goal is to make it easy for a person to understand what you offer. If you're making this complicated for yourself, because you didn't want to answer and look like you're real complicated, it's because you're overthinking all this. If you have a hard time with consistency, find accountability partners. You will show up for your professional reputation. Simple in theory, hard in practice. The key word is practice. This is never going to be normal to you. I remember when I got to Compass, Howard was here then, right? And I think Howard was in New York City when I did my first pitch in Compass. And, I remember a person coming like, I met you all these years ago. It looked like you really had to do a good job because your job was really important to you and you really needed us to like you. And I remember doing that in the context of this because I was at Compass 3 months and I had to teach people that were there years longer than I was how to sell a company. So I had to practice over and over and over again. And by 3 months, I was coined the national expert on pitch and Compass. But I practice these conversations every single day. Guys, this is the most important skill that you need to have as an agent. If you can communicate effectively, 2 things will happen. You'll obviously make more money, but B, you'll get the right clients because there'll be no ambiguity in what you say and what you offer. You need clients that want to work the way that you want to work. You can't go into a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, or damn near any business in the world and tell them how they're going to work with you. They're going to say, I'm sorry, you can go somewhere else. Make sense? All right, cool. Now let's go to what I call the CCD method, right? What is CCD? Is it clear what you're offering? Is it concise and specific what they get? And the D is the most important part. Does the other party actually understand what they get from you? Like, do they understand that this is a 16.9 ounce bottle of water? Imagine they took the ounces off this bottle, there'd be ambiguity. It'd be like, all right, it's a bottle of Poland Spring water, but how much is in the bottle? Why am I paying this much more for this than the other one? I don't know what's in here. Sound familiar? Kind of like commission objections. A commission objection is nothing more than not being able to effectively communicate what somebody's getting from you. I want to think about it means that you didn't address what their motivation, expectations, disappointments, and concerns were prior to coming to the appointment because you didn't ask, you didn't know to ask, right? D, does the other party actually understand what they get from you? Could you imagine I was just like, hey, we have a coaching program called The Playbook. You should sign up. It's $497 a month. Is it clear what I'm offering? Is it concise and specific what the schedule is, when the sessions are, and everything else? No. Do you actually understand what you're getting? No. So there's ambiguity. And remember, when things are unclear, they become chaotic and it brings people back to certainty. And remember this too, trust, caring. Those are feelings that are created through interactions and engagement. You ever hear the saying, they listened to me so well, they solved all my problems? Oh, I trust that person. Yeah, because they asked great questions and they listened to you, so you felt like they actually cared about you. See, a lot of this is behavioral psychology too. So let's go to understand what I call the journey of the customer. The journey of the customer this is what great brands do when they sell, especially in funnel marketing. They know your entire journey and they map it out. So all the touch points are done. So I've shared this before and I'll share this again now, is look, depending on the way you view information, on where it is. If you write on a handwritten note of paper, your brain will process the information one way. If you write on a Post-it note, and there are a bunch of Post-it notes, your brain will process it a different way. If you're on a whiteboard, it'll process it a different way. If you're in the notes section of your phone, it's a different way. It's a Google Doc, it's the same. It's a different way. The way you want to do this exercise, I know you guys have all seen those big yellow sticky things on the glass and stuff like that behind me. Those are extra large Post-it notes. Go buy an extra large Post-it pad. Put 3 pads on a wall and write before, during, and after. And start listing out all the things you do, because you need to be understand what's offered to them, clearly understand what is being offered, right? And then ultimately, is this in alignment with the service you want? Because when you see your whole transaction together like that, you're like, oh my God, that's missing. I'd move this, I would move that, right? Like all of those things are there. Make sense? So if you're really serious about understanding what your value is, this is where you start. and you list it all out. Now, here are a couple things you can do. How many people have clients that are friends? All of us. Great. You're going to call them up and you're going to say, hey, I'm working with a business coach, or however you want to phrase this, make this your own words. But I'd say, hey, look, we're always looking to improve our experience. I know we work together in blank and blank time. What specifically, make sure you use the word specifically. If not, they're just going to say, oh, you made me feel great and felt comfortable. What specifically did I do? And what experiences you have that you found the most valuable? Do and experiences. Your marketing was great. Your customer service is great. I felt that you tried. And I would go back and I would call a bunch of these people to get information, right? If you have team members and you're one of these teams, right? Like Laura Lynn, and you guys are sitting here doing this together, this is a great thing to brainstorm as a team. You'll create like a super system. Nathaniel, this is a great thing to do with your team, right? Like sit down as a group and really map this out, because everyone has something unique to offer. Listen, it's the same transaction. Everyone just does it differently because we're all different people. So that's the first step, like really gather information. If you have admins and staff, see what they say too. First part of anything is discovery. The second part is we've created a form that is a before, during, and after form, right? So you can literally go in there and write what you did before, what you do during, what you did after. You can do it in our form, where I highly encourage people to like do it in an office with a Post-it note. And by the way, this is something where collaboration beats isolation all day long. Collaboration beats isolation. Do this with someone in your office, or just get on Zoom and literally like put AirPods in and one person go on one thing, one person go on another thing, and brainstorm and do this together. Look, one of the greatest assets you guys have here is each other, right? My team will put the accountability sheet in here where you can just start reaching out to people. Find people to practice with. You know, I was on a coaching call recently, and one of the things that I'd said to my client, Aaron, was, I go, look, you're doing really well and you'll continue to grow, right? He probably has grown in the last year and a half, his GCI by over $1 million, right? And so, you know, one of the things that we worked with him and dialed him on was like the value of discipline, consistency, and patience. So now he's just dialed in. And I said, look, Aaron, here's the reality of it. Everybody wants something. Everyone has a goal. But most people's desire for comfort outweighs their desire for what they want. And for you to ever get to where you want, your desire for what you want has to burn inside of you so much that it has to outweigh your desire for comfort. Think about it. How many of us have kids? Right? A bunch of us, right? Or a pet, or anything they care about, right? Think about it. If your dog was getting attacked by somebody, is it comfortable going and breaking up a dog fight? No, but you love that dog and you'll do it. If your kid is in trouble, right? I call them mommy muscles. Some of the things you see moms do with kids is mind-blowing. It's like if their kid was at the other side of a brick wall, they'd find a way to run through the wall, right? Like at that point, when things are really important to you, your desire for what you want far outweighs your desire for comfort. So you take action. You don't care about how uncomfortable it is. So I really want you guys to think that. I want you to write that quote down next to like your KPIs of money and look at it every day. Your desire for what you want must outweigh your desire for comfort. We all go back to what's comfortable, regardless if it's good, bad, and different. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. You know, that's why we say mindset in this is your ability to think through something different than you presently do today. And that comes with growth. And that comes with discomfort, right? And the last part about this is we have a perceived value and an actualized value. Perceived value, the value that you offer from the client's point of view. It's like what you offer from your point of view, right? And essentially you want to understand what you feel you offer. So when you go through this, right, and you're writing what you offer, you're going to pull that from the before, during, and after. And then actualize value. You're going to want to put an X next to the ones that are good and that you have mastered. And then how will you communicate it? Start thinking through, how can I communicate this, right? So you want to have a written marketing plan. You want to have a predictable written communication plan, right? And start thinking through it. There's like 3 types of learning. There's like people that like teach to teach, right? You know, people that just have something great they want to share, so they're excited to share it. There are people that teach for other people to learn. You know, that crazy thing called the adult learning theory that does not work, in my opinion, in real estate. Here are the class objectives for the day, and here's how, like, that doesn't work either for you guys, because this is an application business. And then there is teaching for people to do, and that's what we do, right? That's why these action steps are here. All these things are meant to prompt your brain differently. So you guys are teaching people to do something. So the way you communicate it has to be in a way that they understand it, paired with asking them questions. Do you know there are 4 important things in communicating a message, right? It's like meeting somebody where they are, asking great questions, being a great active listener, and having effective conversations. And part of having effective conversations is saying to somebody, hey, you know, I just shared a lot with you over there about how we're going to market your home. What did you hear? Have you ever sat there and said something where you thought was really clear, and then you ask the person that question, and you're like, how the hell did you humanly even think that? Communication without context is miscommunication. So think about this. Is there context to all that you're communicating? Is it clear? Is it concise? Does the other person understand what they're getting? Has your perceived value become fully actualized value for all the people that you work with? This is a fun exercise. Michelle, you and Candace should definitely do this together. Right? So if you guys are in for doing this, right in, because I really find like this is like one of those pivotal moments in your life where like you could actually do something great for yourself that will just continue to build money into your business and your bank account. This is it, guys. Like when we talk about building a scalable business, remember, profitable, repeatable, predictable, scalable. This is building the repeatable, predictable, scalable part of your business. And I promise you this, I probably talk to more agents in the country than most people. Nobody is doing this. How many people do you know that are really going back and be like, how can I more effectively communicate what I offer somebody? And let me break down my customer process. Let me talk to my clients and really do this the right way. True businesses grow with strategy, not more grind. I don't want you to work harder. And what you realize is when you do all these easy things, you just get easier. And our method of communication is in a way that is not combative. It's very friendly. It's very consultative. And it makes people feel good. Amit Bhutta said this best. He's like, you know what's different about you? He's like, a lot of people get you to say things you don't want to say to get people to do things they don't want to do. You help us say things that we feel good about saying to help people do things that they want to do. If they're meeting you, they want to understand what you have to offer. All of you owe it to yourself as a career agent to take the time to do this. Just watch, and then you start practicing this stuff. When you get an objection and you know you own it, you're like, great, because they're going to give that same objection to 3 other people and not even going to know how to answer it. When we get into going through next week, we're going to teach you how to pre-qualify and find the 4 drivers of human behavior to make any decision and make sure that you can win every pitch when you understand this works. But the beginning part is understanding all the tools in your toolbox, then understanding next how to meet somebody where they are, and then using those tools when necessary. But you can't utilize all your tools if you've never practiced using them, right? I can't put an IKEA chair together if my life depended on it, right? Don't know how to use a tool. I've never used tools. Like sometimes I do it, I'll hurt my finger. Like I'll break something. Like it's like I would need a lot of practice to do it. And I share that example because I think a lot of you guys are in the same boat when it comes to actually practicing talking to people. People like, this is stupid. Sure, go talk to the person that's done it every day for a year and they'll tell you how stupid it really is. There is nothing to lose in doing this. We all have the time. So keep believing in yourself. Remember, your desire for what you want has to outweigh your desire for comfort. That one simple sentiment will change your life. The only limitations we have on ourselves are the choices that we make. That's it. You wake up every day in your life, and day is a culmination of the choices you make. I see Amy in Florida. I said that when I could see her eyes moving, your brain processing that, right? Think about it. The only limitations you put on yourself are the choices you decide to make. It's not for me. I don't have time. I can't do this. Those are all excuses. All the time you need is in the time management system called screen time on your phone. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. I hope this was incredibly impactful. I could not be more excited to hop into this whole journey of sales and conversations and objections and sharing the market. And I promise you, when we start getting into sharing the market and all the unrealistic stuff that people are talking about, you're going to be like, wow, that was easy. I don't want to overpay for a home. Great. I completely understand. Overpaying is terrible. So let's look at the market through the eyes of your goals and expectations. Wow. Doesn't that quickly change the conversation? Just like that. Right? So we'll keep getting into this more and more, and you guys are going to be like an army of ninjas ready to take action. And no matter what anyone says to you, you guys look up, I got this. Up, I got this. And you say, hey, let me just ask you another question. That's it. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, and I will talk to you soon. Adios.